Okay, so here I'm going to give you some ideas to help you prepare for the speaking part 2 task. So here we have a recent question, 2019. Describe a recent development in your city. I'm going to look at 3 things we can do to help you prepare. And these are things I show my students when they get ready for IELTS. The first is to look at ideas. Many students find it difficult to find ideas and to think of ideas to talk about. I'll show you how to get ideas. Number 2 is the trigger. The trigger is when you see something, immediately you know what to do. So when you see a word in the sentence, in the question, you immediately know what you should say, what you shouldn't say, and the kind of language you use. So I'll be showing you how to find the trigger in every question. And finally, it's important to have a variety of words, phrases, idiomatic expressions, and we'll be looking at some examples here for this topic about city development. Great. Let's kick off with ideas then. So for this question, describe a recent development in your city. So what can you talk about? Okay, so the first thing I do when it comes to ideas is I just brainstorm. Off the top of my head, start thinking and writing some ideas that come to mind. So I know one of the developments has been fewer shops in the high street where I live. They've disappeared. I've noticed there are new bus stops in my city, and they've actually got this digital display showing the time of the next bus, which is great, really convenient. What else has happened? I've noticed there are more coffee shops in many cities that I've visited, especially where my sister lives. Okay, so that's the first thing. We can brainstorm. It sometimes helps. Second thing is to think of categories. So what are the different categories I could think about? Well, we could think about the good things and about the bad things that have happened. So good things that happened in the development of cities, well, things like new buses are pretty good. I know there are these new cycle lanes in many cities. Things that are bad, well, in my city there's always traffic, lots of traffic, more and more traffic. Roadworks, the roads are always being built and developed, which I know the government's doing a good job, but it makes driving difficult. Recently there have been these traffic restrictions in the city. You can't drive into the city at a certain time of day. So city traffic restrictions is another bad thing, because my wife and I were thinking about buying a house, but the increase in house prices, that's happened in many cities, including ours. That's bad. So there you have some categories, good and bad, and you can get some more ideas. Now, if you're still struggling for ideas, and often we are, then the next thing to do, I say do an internet search. Okay. Do a very simple internet search with the 2 keywords from the question. City development. Don't type in the question, describe a recent city development. And I'll tell you why, and I'll show you what happens if you do that. What happens? IELTS cue card. IELTS cue card. IELTS cue card. IELTS cue card. Lots of examples of the answers. That's great if you want a model answer. But if you want to be preparing and getting ideas, this isn't going to help you very much. And the biggest problem is that most of these, and I've looked at a lot, do not use natural spoken English. Many of them use written English. And I've tried to speak the answers in many of these, and it's very difficult because I sound like a book. So I'm not sure how useful these are. A much better idea then, let's just do, there you go, city development. And here, let's see if we can get some ideas. CDL is a company, urban planning. Wikipedia is always useful. City Developments Limited is a company. Now, city development strategies. That sounds interesting. And I've just noticed City of Stockholm as a case study. Case studies are also usually really, really interesting. So let's have a look. City of Stockholm. Some guys with the coffee looking very worried about the development of their city. Let's look at some key keywords, key issues. It's all here. Echo Smart City, the smart city. Wow. Straight away. Smart cities. And if you've not heard of smart cities, you can check it out very soon. Echo Smart Cities, which is a bit like the green idea, the green cities, yeah? Where are we? The environmental goals, efficient cooperation, private industry, information technology, sustainable society. Lots of good words. We just need to be a bit careful if they're too academic or written for spoken English, but we're thinking about ideas here. Seaport, study visits, education, green capital. So there's quite a few ideas here, and you could go on. You could look at here. Entirely new neighbourhood, apartments, workplaces, cultural attractions, green areas, research, medical care. Okay, straight away. More ideas. Cultural attractions. See if I can spell. Medicine. Research or education. Those are developments in cities. Great. Green areas they talked about, and that reminds me of all the public parks. Education was mentioned, and I know a lot of schools now have security guards, especially in the United States, but maybe in your city too. So the internet search has suddenly given us a lot more ideas. Okay, so that's great. All I'm going to do now is take these ideas, okay, just copy them, take out the subtitles, and what I've got now here is a list of ideas. And that's a very, very simple way to go about brainstorming ideas. You only need to do it once for the topic. And then what you will probably do is think about, if you go back to the question, what it is, okay, where it took place. So which of these ideas are relevant for your city? And do you want to talk about? And finally, why it happened. So I may think in my city fewer shops. Yep, that was relevant. The new buses definitely is relevant. More traffic, well, roadworks sometimes. The increase in house prices, something I'd be happy to talk about. Smart cities, definitely. And if you actually Google smart cities, you will find a lot of information. Even Wikipedia gives you a great introduction to smart cities, what they are, technologies, the frameworks to measure them, and example cities. You'll find out a lot, and I've read a bit about them, so I know they do things like free Wi-Fi, the Internet of Things. So we have parking sensors in my city. We have eco street lights. Lots of things that are happening with smart cities. I'd quite happily talk about parking sensors because I do drive and it's a bit of a problem. Cultural attractions. We've had a new cultural centre in my city, so I could talk about that. These are all things we could talk about. Okay. I'm just going to put all of these into the same size to make it a bit easier. Okay, and the other thing then is to ask the question, why? Why do we have fewer shops in the high street? Well, because shopping habits have changed. Shopping online. 2 examples. What about new buses? Why do we have new buses? Well, to encourage people to take the public transport. And that is because there's too much traffic. And that's because there are too many people. And that's because urbanization. And why do we have urbanization? Because of the demand for jobs. It's really good. Always ask why. Why do you have that? Why do you have that? Keep asking why, and you'll get some great ideas. Increase in house prices. Why? Well, demand has gone up. Why? People have more disposable income. Maybe. Or investors from abroad is a common, or from other cities is a common reason. Smart cities parking centres. Why do we have them? To make parking easier. Again, too many cars. And we can go on and on. So we're asking why. So what you end up with are lots of ideas. Some you're happy to talk about and the reason they've happened. You're now in a much better position to answer this question. Next, we'll be looking at the triggers.